tell you a little bit about Nicolas. Nicolas Perrin is a cosmic guide who supports difference makers to catalyze their dormant gifts and abilities and to step into a reality that reflects their soul's destiny. He synthesizes the realms of spirituality and quantum science for the purpose of tapping into the infinite possibilities in creating a thriving, purposeful reality for Earth and humanity. And your topic of discussion today is the alchemy of quantum higher self-alignment. Nick's going to take us on a journey to explore how we can align more effectively with our higher self through the art of alchemy and the quantum science, and how to use and connect to the morphic field of resonance, which directly affects all human life. Well, this has sounded good, hun. You're a little blurry. Your internet hasn't hung in there for the whole 8 hours. But anyway, you've got the blur going on. But I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you everyone for being here today. So the theme that I'll be sharing with you is the alchemy of quantum high self-alignment. And most of the people that have spoken have been scientists, where I would say that I'm more a mystic, which is really using physical reality as my laboratory. And so I'm willing to explore various premises, explore various ways of exploring life and testing them out through my own personal life and experience. And from the perspective of what did I feel that I could share with you today that would be of the highest service possible, this was the topic that came up. And so I'm going to just break down this topic just to define what it is that I'm actually referring to when I say the alchemy of quantum high self-alignment. So alchemy is a term that is referencing the transformation of energy. So energy cannot be destroyed, but it can be transformed. And quantum, for me, references the infinite possibilities of both the manifested and unmanifested realms of potential. The higher self, for me, is the aspect of our consciousness that exists beyond time and space. And it is able to see all the different timelines, all the different choices. It has access to information that our human personality is not aware of. And so it's a little bit like having someone on the top of a mountain that we can radio connect with, that can look down and say, just be mindful, there's a cliff over there, and on this side of the mountain there's a beautiful valley, so you might want to come more around to your left because that's where the valley is, otherwise you're going to hit a massive issue when you encounter the cliff. And then alignment is really the embodiment and the transmission between the higher self and the ego nature. So that's what I'm referencing and talking about when I'm saying the alchemy of quantum high self-alignment. My intention is to actually offer a demonstration, which I will be doing at the end. I've reserved about 15 minutes for a live experience. Again, the path of the mystic is about live experiences, and all I can offer you is an offering for you to consider potentially a new way of exploring reality. And for some people, it will absolutely resonate, and something within you might really get activated and enlivened. And for other people, it may completely not resonate. And the reason for that is that we have such a variety of belief systems on the planet at this time. And really, every one of us, what Dershana was saying in the very first talk, that we're all on our own hero's journey. And so what works for me may not work for another. And again, it's this beautiful reminder that I've learned on my path, which is that ultimately there is no right or wrong. There is just what's useful and not useful for me in relation to what's relevant in this life at this time. So before I can take you on an experience, I'm going to share with you 5 premises that I'm going to invite you to consider. And you don't have to believe them, but for the purposes of this experience, I would invite you just to hold them as a possibility in your reality, because I've found these premises to be very powerful and have allowed me to have these experiences that I'm going to share with you. So the very first premise is that everything already exists in the here and now. All possibilities and potentials are located in the void. So what I'm really referencing here is that we're not really ever creating anything, but we're really just aligning to the probabilities in the quantum field. And then through our focus, attention, and awareness, which happens through thought, word, and deed, those probabilities in the unmanifested space gain a higher probability compared to other aspects. So it's important to recognize that everything that you've ever maybe desired at a heart level, everything that would be the most extraordinary experience for you already exists. And so it's more a case of asking the question, what would it take for me to be able to align to these realities, rather than trying to work out how do I create this? So the second premise is the observer, and the act of observing is what determines which potential will materialize. So there is the reference to the double slit experiment, which was done in the 1800s. And really it's just looking at the relationship between waves of potential and particles. I'm not going to go into it, but basically what the experiment was demonstrating was that when someone is observing something, it changes the result of what manifests. And so you, as the observer in your life, are constantly collapsing potential timelines or waveforms into a particular reality. And for most people, that reality appears to be very similar moment to moment to moment. But it is actually possible to have a much larger quantum leap if you are willing to hold your belief systems or the constructs through which you see reality in a much more looser way. So instead of identifying with your beliefs and your constructs, just see them as potential reality templates, with the idea that these beliefs are going to create a certain experience, and it's not right or wrong. But the question is that belief or is that construct useful for me, depending on what sort of life you want to create? And so again, taking 100% responsibility, we are invited to consider our definitions of success, which from the mainstream world's perspective is very much orientated around what it is that I own, or my status and credibility. Whereas for me now, those things were very much part of my life, because I was in the corporate world and I was in the financial world, and my awakening happened, started at the age of 23 and really accelerated until around about 26 was when I started to have one foot in one reality and one foot in the other reality. Okay, so the third premise that I want to share with you is we are all made of light and information. And this information is connected into morphic fields, which no one's talked about today in the Australian segment. So I'm going to share a little bit about that. So when I'm talking about we're made of light and information, what I'm saying is that we have a physical body, which we obviously can perceive as physical. However, there is actually a very elaborate energetic field that we can't perceive, or most people can't perceive. And in this field contain what I call energetic patterns. And these energetic patterns hold a certain energetic resonance, which essentially determines what comes into your reality or what is repelled out of your reality. So this is one of the reasons why words of affirmation often don't work for people. Because if you're trying to say something that you want, but in your energy field, you hold a very high resonance of something that is the opposite, what you will manifest is the opposite. Okay, so what I'm wanting to share with you as part of the demonstration is how can you access these patterns of information, these energetic resonance patterns, and transform them, which is the alchemy element. Now, the morphic fields of information, which I've referenced, what is this talking about? There's a whole body of work that Rupert Sheldrake did about morphic fields, and what he basically was realizing through his research, he was a scientist in the field of biology, was that animals and nature are basically informed from these morphic fields of information, which includes behavior and and in essence, their instinct and what makes an animal an animal. So what makes a tiger, or an ant an ant. And what he realized was that everything, all creatures on the planet are accessing morphic fields of information which are not static, they're ever evolving fields of information. However, bringing it back to ourselves, if you're tapping into a morphic field of information, that field is influencing you, and at the same time, you are influencing it as well. So there is a two-way feedback loop that is unfolding. And so ultimately, morphic fields can change and do change over time. But the significance of that is that we're looking at humanity's past, which has been one of separation, lack and limitation, with a lot of suffering and pain. When children are born on the planet, their DNA connects them to these morphic fields of information, because that has been the default experience of humanity for a very long period of time. Now, other speakers before have talked about how behavior is actually passed on from one generation to the next. And so if there is references of, say, addiction or abuse, those behaviors can actually be passed on from one generation to the next. And if you have a look at a particular family lineage, you will notice that that there is often a pattern there. And so a lot of the perspectives that each of us are holding is significantly influenced through our ancestors and what they've experienced. So Nikola Tesla shares a beautiful quote which says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay, so the final element that I just want to talk about in relation to we're made of light and information, and linking that to the morphic fields of information, is I really would like to invite people to consider that we are like walking antennae, and we are like receiving units. We're receiving frequency, we're receiving information, and the information is actually connected to the frequency that we are aligning with. And so an interesting experience that I can invite you to contemplate on is when you were in a really, really expanded state of consciousness, or your energy was up, you may have noticed that the information that you were able to receive might have been things that you had never even considered, or things that were beyond your own, let's say, mental capacities. And then in another point in time, your energy has dropped, your frequency has dropped, and if you try and find and search what that information actually was, you can't find it. And so the reason for that is that memory isn't actually stored in our brain, and science is actually cottoning onto this now, or I should say mainstream science, and that actually memory is actually non-local. And so it's really, really important that we recognize that we're just like a walking radio. And so if we can master how we can attune ourselves to frequencies and energies that are useful for us, then we can perceive the information that we need to know. And we can then focus our reality, focus on the reality that we would love, and over a period of time, by putting our life force energy into that, it will manifest. Okay, so now the premise, the fourth premise, which I want to share with you, which is now starting to have a look at the idea of symbols. So symbols, or sigils, for those that are more familiar with alchemy, are a way to connect to different morphic fields. And there is a really powerful question to really contemplate, which is, how do you access energy or frequency that you don't know exists? Because if in the quantum field everything exists, and if information is connected to frequency, then how do you access something that you don't know how it exists? And so the answer to that, or one way, there's a few different ways that I've explored on the path of being a mystic, and that is through symbols. Now I'm going to show you a few different symbols. Some of them are more common, like you probably would recognize them, and others may be a little bit more unknown. So just give me a moment. Okay, so the first one here, this symbol, is the yin yantra, which is quite a famous sacred geometric form. And again, this would connect you to a morphic field of information. And so if you just focus on the symbol, the passive act of gently placing your awareness on a symbol starts to align your energy field to that morphic field, right? So that's the way that you connect. Here's another symbol, which is quite common. This is the flower of life, right? Another sacred geometric form. Then this one here is a heart, and it's got a spiral in it. And a friend of mine actually gave this to me when I was experiencing some health issues last year. I developed some cysts, and she said, put this in your pocket. It'll connect to a morphic field of healing, and your body can actually absorb that energy, and it'll help integrate it, which I did do. Here are probably a little bit more unusual ones. So this is a alchemical piece of art, really, that was created by the intentional community of Damanhur. So Damanhur is an intentional community in northern Italy, and one of their main philosophy is really the path of alchemy. And so they've created all these very interesting different trainings and pathways of how you can explore reality. And they've got some very sophisticated healing devices, extraordinary, and I've never seen anything quite like it, which connect to, they connect to dimensional beings in another universe. So the founder of that intentional community had a relationship with another group of beings in a different universe. And through this technology that they had created, they were able to interface with these beings, and the energies were able to come through. And I did have a personal experience, and I definitely experienced something. Just to kind of expand how symbols can be used, behind me I've placed 5 different symbols or different paintings. They're interdimensional paintings. So you'll see up over here 5 different symbols, and they have different representations. Now, the artist of these symbols, Brian De Flores, if you want to research him, he used to be a truck driver, believe it or not, and he received a wake-up call from, again, interdimensional beings that interrupted him and sort of said, you've got an option here. If you continue on the trajectory that you're on, there will be a death portal that will open up, and this life stream will end. Or you can choose to make a quantum leap and have a very different experience where another aspect of your multidimensional nature will connect to you, and you will become an artist. And not any artist. You will learn how to draw interdimensional paintings for the purposes of channeling through higher frequencies that will support humanity this time. So I ended up actually buying quite a few of these, and I remember at the time when I first bought them, the energy that I received through them was incredibly powerful. Because I've had these now for about 7 years, my energy field has now acclimated them, so I don't really feel such a strong resonance anymore. But in the beginning, it was very, 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 very strong. So why am I bringing this up? And the main reason why I'm bringing this up is that in a moment, what we're going to be doing when we go into a process, I'm going to invite you to allow a symbol to be presented to you that will act as a frequency key that will tap you into the relevant morphic field of information that will support a more effortless higher self-alignment, okay? Now, you don't need to understand what that key is. All I'm inviting you to do, again, is just to surrender and let go and allow it to come into the space, because there are aspects of you and me and all of us that we don't fully understand, and but are having a very direct influence on how our human life is actually unfolding. So the 5th and final premise that I want to share with you before I set up the experiment, live experiment, is that the heart portal is the access point into the void. So that's really important. A lot of speakers today have already shared the intelligence of the heart, how the heart actually influences the brain. And what I'm going to invite you to consider is that there is a point within the heart space which you can reference or call as the epicenter of your being. It's like the eye of a hurricane. It's like even if there was complete chaos and drama and everything was falling around in your life, if you were to bring your awareness and attention into that point, you would feel complete peace, and you would be able to be in the witness observer space and just notice and experience the chaos and drama and have no kind of story, no aversion or any kind of attachment to it. So that is a very significant, I would call, spiritual development skill, which can be learned. And it's something that I learned because I didn't know how to access my heart. I had what's called a heart wall, and a heart wall is an energetic barrier that is there to keep us safe. And the subconscious mind creates that when we've experienced pain or hurt. And again, it doesn't even have to be in our life directly. It could have been from our ancestors. I also throw in the possibility of other life experiences, past lives. But again, whether you believe that or not doesn't really matter, because we can always come back to the truth of what's in your energy field in this moment at this time. All of those possibilities of where the source came from doesn't actually really matter. I've realized that we can just work with the energetic patterns, and that is absolutely fine. So another significance through which accessing the heart portal is really essential is that we're moving out of our personality, we're moving out of our identity, we are moving from living life in a linear time-based world into beingness, into boundlessness, into timelessness, into a non-linear quantum space that is beyond time and space. And that is essential if you're wanting to access potentials and frequencies and new realities that is beyond your current experience. You've really got to be able to just expand yourself out. A very awesome exercise, if you feel very stuck in the reality that you're in, a very cool exercise that I would recommend that you do is you bring your awareness in your heart and build love in the heart, and really kind of, as the creator of your life and of your body and the sovereign of your body, pulse love to every single cell in your body, and then just keep expanding your consciousness out until you go into oneness, and just notice and feel and sense what that is like. How are you perceiving yourself? How are you perceiving reality? So when I've explored that, what I noticed is that I couldn't really perceive who I was anymore. I didn't really have any reference points of where I started or where I ended. And I moved into this space of peacefulness and bliss and very deep level of love as well. So that can be a very powerful experience for people that may find it difficult to get out of their own personality or to get out of the situations or scenarios that you are experiencing in your life at this time. Okay, so we're going to set up the exercise now, and then we're going to jump in. So how do we actually conduct this? And I'm going to just set it up so that everyone understands what we're doing. So first of all, it's really important that we're going to hold a gentle intention in our heart around what is it that we would like to explore and receive. So the intention is that we're asking for a higher level of higher self-alignment. So even if you are already activated, aligned, or have a sense of that, there is more of who you truly are that you probably don't even know about. So we can hold that intention very gently in our heart, and that will be the anchor point through which our mind will orientate in this experience. Then what we're going to do is we're going to still the mind and drop into the body. We'll bring our awareness into the heart, and we'll start to pay attention and notice the subtle sensations and the energies within the body and heart. We'll move our awareness into the epicenter of your being. And again, the easiest way to do that is just to make a decision. I choose to bring my awareness and attention into the epicenter of my being, and then just allow yourself, surrender and let go, allow yourself to be taken there. So then once we're in the right space, what I'm going to then call forth, I'm going to say, I'm now calling forth a symbol or a sigil or some abstract representation that will be the frequency template that will give me access to a morphic field of information that I need to connect with in order to be able to have the experience of a higher self alignment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to allow that key to come in. I just want you to notice what you notice. I don't want you to analyze it. I don't want you to rationalize it. I don't want you to understand anything. There's nothing to understand, and just allow it to come into your hand. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to place that energy into your body. And I want you to breathe it in, surrendering and letting go. And then all that we're doing is we're noticing what is different. And that's what we're going to be doing. I will also set up the sacred space as well, just to define what is coming in and what is not coming in. But ultimately, that is it. So I'm just going to invite everyone. I'm going to put my microphone here, so I've got my hands free. There we go. Okay, so just inviting everyone just to close your eyes, and let's just take 3 long, deep breaths. Just breathing into our bellies. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just allowing yourself to drop deeper and deeper into your body. Noticing the sensations, the energies, the vibrations. Just bringing your awareness into your heart. Just gently pulsing with intention, unconditional love to every cell in your body now. And we're going to draw a circle around us. We're defining this space as a multidimensional, unconditionally loving, supportive, aligning with universal truth, heart wisdom, divine power, joy, peace, balance, and harmony. And aligning with the highest levels of love, light, and life, in alignment with the law of one. So just noticing those energies, alchemizing, and creating the space for us in this moment. And just gently bringing your awareness into your heart. Feeling the love in your heart for yourself and for everything and everyone. And just gently allow yourself to move into the epicenter of your being now. Expand your awareness, noticing, witnessing, and observing. Connected to the feelings and sensations in and around your body. Bringing your hands in front of you in receivership. as we now call forth the symbol that represents the frequency matrix to assist in my higher self-alignment with grace and ease for the highest and best now and for all. Allow yourself to receive, sense and perceive, and just move that symbol into a part of your body. Breathe it in. Accept it, allow it, receive it. And now surrender and let go. Witness and observe. Notice what is different. And just calling for an effortless integration, calling in the frequencies to assimilate, harmonize, and balance my energy field as I move myself into a new harmonic. I ground myself to Mother Earth. And just taking 3 long deep breaths, breathing into my belly. And very gently moving your fingers and your toes. And opening your eyes when you're ready. So that was a quick experience. This body of work, you can spend days really mastering it. And, I did a very, very quick dive in. But in essence, this work is very powerful because we're really working with metaphysical principles and at the same time holding precious the human experience as well, really honouring the process that we have to go through. But the cool thing is with this alchemical technology that I call it, and really that our human body and our energetic field is a technology. And there is the possibility to do timeline shifts, to access information that the world has never received. And a lot of the inventors, the people that have brought in new information, did this in their own unique way. So it's very, very powerful. And, there's all sorts of different bodies of work that you can reference. One teacher that I will recommend, who is a scientist, but is also very much into spirituality, is Dr. Richard Bartlett. You can check his work out as well. And there's a whole lot of other amazing things out there. I kind of craft soul journeys for people that are customized creations that really support people based on where they're at. So I don't follow a cookie cutter approach. I really craft what is relevant for the person that I'm working with. So just opening up any questions. Oh, there's Karen.
Amazing conversation, amazing talk, darling one. Absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, I have a question. There's a question here. I have a question. Yeah. What does he know about the greys and planet-sized ships in our solar system and Jupiter? That's a bigger question that we've got time for, I think, Grandmaster UV. It's a good question.
Yeah, I would say, Karen, that's probably more your thing, right? Actually, you might want to incorporate that in your talk. But yeah, look, that hasn't been relevant on my path that question. I'm aware loosely of those things, but my purpose in this life, I'm a soul catalyst. I catalyze people's blueprints, and I'm also part of the Divine Civilization Blueprint team as well. So the creation of the New Earth paradigm. So that's my focus in this life. But there's lots of other people that know a lot about all that.
Yeah, there are. There absolutely are. And I loved everything you said. We'll have a bit of a discussion during my time, a bit about what you were saying, because, yeah, you really incorporated a lot of what other people said but didn't actually say it, you know, talking about the morphic field of resonance or the infinite unified field. You know, there's so many names for the same thing. Thank you. Thanks so much, Nicolas. It's been just a blast to listen to your presentation today.
Thank you so much, Karen.